It was a quiet evening in Jacksonville, Florida, when Brittany Christian stepped outside her home. She wasn't looking for trouble. She only wanted to ask a police officer parked on her property to move. What happened next would change her life forever. The confrontation quickly escalated, and within moments, Brittany found herself in a fight she never expected. Her actions that day sparked a firestorm of attention, raising urgent questions about power, race, and the line between law and abuse. This is not just a story about one woman's bravery. It's a story that echoes across communities, a moment that turned into a movement. Today, we examine the case of Brittany Christian, a story that challenges everything we think we know about authority and accountability. Brittany Christian Moore, a Jamaican-American film producer and artist, had long been a voice for change in her community. Residing in Jacksonville, Florida, Brittany wasn't just another face in the crowd. She was a creative force, known for her work on projects like the film Illville, a raw exploration of police brutality and the complex realities faced by marginalized communities. Her home, nestled in a quiet Jacksonville neighborhood, was more than just a residence. It was a recipe, a place where she crafted her art and shaped her vision for a better future. Within her circle, she was admired not only for her talent, but for her unyielding commitment to social justice. Brittany believed in the power of storytelling to inspire action, and her work often challenged the status quo. But on the evening of May 13th, 2020, her ideals were tested in a way she never anticipated. Brittany stepped outside to find a Jacksonville Sheriff's Office vehicle parked on her property. Calm, but firm, she asked the officer to move the car. What should have been a simple request quickly escalated. Within minutes, officers entered her home without a warrant. What followed was a shocking display of force. Brittany, thrown to the ground, restrained and left with physical injuries that told their own story of what happened that night. This was no longer just a personal incident. It was an encounter that would raise critical questions about authority, race, and the unchecked use of power. The aftermath of that night was as swift as it was devastating. Brittany Christian was arrested, charged with battery on a law enforcement officer and resisting arrest. These were serious accusations, and they painted her as the aggressor in a situation where she had simply asked for her rights to be respected. But as the details of the incident began to emerge, so did a different story. Body camera footage, released later, showed the confrontation from the officer's perspective. It revealed moments of excessive force that contradicted the official reports filed against Brittany. The footage spread quickly, sparking public outrage and raising questions about the conduct of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. As Brittany prepared to face trial, the stakes became even higher. The charges carried the potential for a lengthy prison sentence. Years of her life could be taken away. The weight of it all was crushing, but Brittany was not alone. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump, known for his work in high-profile cases, stepped forward to support her. His involvement brought national attention to Brittany's case, and with it, a growing wave of media coverage and public support. But beyond the headlines, the personal toll was immense. Brittany's family and friends stood by her, but they could not shield her from the fear and frustration that came with fighting for her freedom. In interviews, they described the emotional strain of watching her endure this battle. For Brittany, each day was a fight, not just for herself, but for the principles she had spent her life defending. This was no longer just a legal case. It was a test of resilience and a demand for accountability, one that resonated far beyond the walls of a courtroom. The trial was a pivotal moment, a stage set for truth to confront power. The courtroom was filled with tension as Brittany Christian's defense team laid out the evidence, piece by piece. Central to their argument was the body camera footage, unfiltered, undeniable. It showed the officers' actions and challenged the narrative they had presented in their reports. Witness testimonies added another layer to the proceedings. Neighbors, legal experts, and even members of Brittany's community took the stand to share their perspectives. The prosecution argued that Brittany's actions justified the charges, but the defense countered with a starkly different picture. A woman defending her rights and her home met with disproportionate force. The jury's deliberation felt like an eternity. Every moment stretched as observers, supporters, and Brittany herself waited for the verdict. Finally, the decision was announced. Brittany was acquitted of the felony charge of battery on a law enforcement officer, a victory that vindicated her of resisting arrest without violence. The sentencing brought its own mix of emotions. Brittany was spared jail time, but was placed on probation and required to undergo mandated evaluations. For her, and for those who had rallied around her, the outcome was bittersweet. It was a step toward justice, but not the complete exoneration she had hoped for. The reactions were as divided as the case itself. Supporters celebrated her courage and the partial victory in exposing systemic failings. Critics questioned the implications of the charges that remained, but one thing was clear. Brittany's case had struck a chord, igniting conversations about race, power, and the limits of authority across the nation. In the months following the trial, Brittany Christian emerged from the courtroom not just as a defendant, but as an advocate. She refused to let the experience define her as a victim. Instead, she used it as a catalyst for change. Brittany returned to her art, creating films and projects that spotlight the realities of police brutality and the resilience of those who endure it. Her story became a platform, amplifying the voices of others who faced similar injustices but lacked the means to be heard. At the same time, she continued her fight for systemic reform. Through her advocacy, Brittany called for greater accountability within the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office and similar institutions. Public pressure led to ongoing investigations into the officers involved, though formal disciplinary actions or broader reforms remained slow and uncertain. Brittany's journey resonated far beyond her own community. Her case became a rallying point for movements demanding justice and equality, a reminder of the power that comes from standing together against injustice. But her story is not just about one person's courage. It's a reflection of a broader struggle, a fight for accountability, the enduring strength of communities, and the belief that change is not just necessary, but possible. As Brittany continues her work, her story remains a beacon, challenging us to confront uncomfortable truths and inspiring us to seek a world where justice is not an ideal, but a reality. Brittany Christian's story is one of courage and determination, a journey that began with a simple request on her own property and led to a confrontation that exposed deep systemic flaws. From the harrowing night of her arrest to her vindication in court, Brittany's resilience in the face of adversity became a powerful statement. Her life after the trial is a testament to her commitment to justice, using her voice and her art to shine a light on issues that often go unnoticed. Her story is more than just a moment in time. It's a call to action, a reminder that accountability matters, that standing up for what's right is never easy, but always necessary. What are your thoughts on Brittany's case? Do you think the justice system responded appropriately? Share your perspective in the comments below, and let's keep this critical conversation going. If you found this story impactful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more in-depth explorations of resilience, justice, and the human spirit. Next week, We'll bring you another story that challenges everything you thought you knew about fairness and power. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.